Hey everyone, and welcome. So your company's starting to use AI, and that big, scary question pops up. How in the world do we create rules for this thing without getting totally buried in paperwork? Well, I've got some great news. You don't need some massive, complicated rulebook. You really just need to answer three simple questions. Let's dive in and figure out what they are.
Yes. This is the question that probably keeps a lot of managers up at night, right? You know you need some kind of guidelines for AI, but the starting point just feels like staring at a huge blank wall. You want to do the right thing, but what even is the right thing to do?
And here is the first piece of really good news. You can just forget about creating some giant 100-page legal document that, let's be honest, nobody is ever going to read. That is not the goal here. We're aiming for something practical, something that's actually useful, something that helps people do their jobs better and, of course, safer.
So, why is trying to create a perfect, all-knowing rule book a big mistake from the get-go? Well, the reason is actually pretty simple. You just can't write static, unchanging rules for a technology that is anything but static. AI is always evolving, and trying to lock it down perfectly from day one is just a recipe for frustration.
I mean, think about it. The most powerful AI systems out there are specifically designed to learn and grow and change. So a rule you write on a Monday might not even fully apply to how that system is behaving by Friday. The technology itself is a moving target, which means your rules need to be a living, breathing document, not something carved in the stone tablet.
Okay, so if a static rulebook is out, what's in? The answer is a framework, a different way of thinking. It's called an AI Management System, or AIMS. And instead of just being a long list of don'ts, it's more like a process for how to innovate responsibly. This approach is actually so effective, it's been formalized in official standards, which gives us a really solid foundation to build on.
And this brings us right to the core of the solution. You do not need to become an expert on the entire AIMS framework just to get started. In fact, you can build an incredibly solid foundation for your own AI rules just by answering three fundamental questions.
That's it. Just three. So for a moment, let's forget all the complexity and just focus on these three simple but really powerful questions. They are going to form the bedrock of your company's entire AI strategy. And trust me, getting these right is like 80% of the battle.
So here they are. Number one, what are we actually trying to do with AI? What's the goal? Number two, what information should never, ever, under any circumstances be put into these systems? And number three, when the AI spits out an answer, who is the human being that makes the final call? This is your starting line. It's that simple.
Now here's the best part. These three simple questions aren't just some random good ideas we pulled out of thin air. They're actually the practical, real-world application of the core principles you'd find in the official AIMS standard. So let's break each one down and see how they connect.
First up, we've got the question of purpose. Now, this might seem super obvious, but honestly, it's the most important question you can possibly ask. Without a clear goal, you're not really innovating, you're just playing with some very expensive toys.
So are you using AI to help draft marketing copy? Or maybe to analyze sales data, to help write code? Defining the what and the why right up front sets the boundaries for everything else. It makes sure everyone is pulling in the same direction, and, crucially, it prevents the tool from being used for unintended and potentially risky purposes.
And check this out, this connects directly to that formal framework. Section 6.2 of the AIMS standard is literally all about establishing AI objectives. So just by asking this simple first question, you're already aligning with the best practices of a formal management system. You're starting on a super solid foundation.
All right, let's move on to our second crucial point. Once you know what you're using AI for, you have to decide what fuel you're not going to give it. This is all about the data. This is your first and probably your most important line of defense. You know, the easiest way to prevent a data leak is to never put that sensitive data at risk in the first place. This means you have to be crystal clear about what's off limits. Personal customer information, confidential company financials, trade secrets, you know the deal.
And back in the official AIMS framework, this simple rule is a core part of what they call AI risk treatment. You've identified a huge risk, leaking sensitive data, and you've put a simple, super effective preventative measure in place. And just like that, you're already thinking like a risk manager. Pretty cool, huh?
And now for the third, and you could argue the most critical, pillar of your AI rules: accountability. AI can generate some absolutely amazing things, but it can also get things wrong. So who's in charge?
The rule here is simple.
Think of AI as the co-pilot, not the pilot. A human being must always have the final say. It doesn't matter if it's an email, a report, or a line of code, someone has to be responsible for reviewing what the AI produced, for validating it, and ultimately, for taking ownership of it.
And you probably guessed it, this principle is also a cornerstone of the AIMS framework. Section 5.3 is all about assigning clear roles and responsibilities. So by making it absolutely clear that a human is the final checkpoint, you're already fulfilling a core requirement of responsible AI governance.
Now, this all leads to a really important shift in mindset. When you put these three rules together, you're not building a wall of no just to stop people from using AI. No, you're building a safe, clearly defined playground. You're giving your team the clarity and the confidence they need to go out and innovate because they understand the boundaries.
So, let's bring this all together. The goal isn't to wait around for the perfect, 100% comprehensive AI policy. The goal is to start now with a simple, actionable framework that your team can actually use today.
Remember this, don't let the search for perfection stop you from making progress. A rule that's 80% good that your team can start using right now is infinitely better than a perfect rule that's still stuck in a committee meeting 6 months from now.
And here's exactly how you can do it. It's a simple 3-step plan. First, get the right people together and just discuss those 3 questions. Second, write down the answers. It doesn't have to be fancy, just get it on paper. That's your version 1.0. And third, schedule a time to review it. Use the rules, see what works, and plan to make them better over time. That is continuous improvement in action.
You know, the single most important step you can take is just to start. Having a version 1.0 of your rules, even if it's not perfect, provides the clarity and confidence that your team needs to move forward responsibly right now.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you sit down to create your company's AI rules version 1.0, which of those 3 pillars are you going to tackle first? What's the most important first step for your team? The journey starts now.